I don't know what's going to happen. This is totally new for me. So um, we'll see. I'm going to go like this. Go like this. Oh, dog, shut up. What a
Hey,
nightmare,
well,
dude.
it looks like we're live on my. It seems
You got
that.
it on your thing.
Yeah.
We
Is
just
it
got to
on my
wait for
thing?
people to wait for people to chime in, I guess, and
Let me
see what
put the
happens.
link. At,
Oh yeah, there we are,
we're
right there.
yeah. We're the only ones, but at least it's working, right?
At least it's working. So we'll just wait. We'll wait. You got to look to your. I wish I knew how to get you on the other side because we're on opposite sides. Oh, and Colin's there too. Look, watch this. Ready? Can I add Colin? I can. No
Oh
way.
wow. Hey, it's a
Even better.
three-way.
Okay, so this totally may be worth the $80 a month then. Okay.
Oh wow, you just put out the money.
All right. There we go. Oh yeah, so Trev's here, Jay Polly's here. All right, perfect. Okay, so we'll just wait for some more people to try and find this, and we'll see what happens. Yes, what a nightmare! What an absolute
Okay.
nightmare. I have to. I know nothing about this interface here, this window, nothing. So we're winging it, dudes.
Just no one touch anything.
Yeah, don't touch
We
anything.
don't
That's
touch
it.
anything.
Oh no 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 no! Oh, Wobbly Waldo's here. Good good. So he found us again. That's excellent.
You should know that Colin and I never wing anything. We are very calculated people. So I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know if we're okay with this winging it thing.
Yeah, I
I
was
think I
expecting
think
to stay in the chat and just razz you both while you tried to do this live stream, but here I am, part of it now. So
there
So
you are.
now you can razz us with your voice instead of your type.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah, can you kick
Perfect.
him out? Get him out! Get him out of here!
Oh yeah, I can
you
kick him
know,
out. Watch.
Yes.
Oh, I brought you back. It's okay.
Ah.
Oh, he's crying.
the
All right.
internet here will probably kick me out anyways, but we'll see how long I
Okay.
last.
Owen found us. Excellent. Excellent. Great. Great. All right. ADV Red Bikes is here. Excellent. Good. All right. Thank you guys for finding us. What a nightmare. All right. John's typing away. I'm now looking at a keyboard and a trackpad. That's awesome.
I'm trying to get the live
trying to
stream in
get
front of
people.
us.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm trying to get people on it.
Okay, perfect. Carl's here.
Okay,
Hey,
then.
Carl, how's it going?
Yeah. Well, the important people are here.
That's right. That's right. That's all good. All right. Oh, good. Corey's here. My moderator's here. Good. Excellent. Thank you, Corey. Yeah. So I don't have all that fancy graphics and stuff on this one. Corey's live is tomorrow night at 6:30. Corey does all the camp cooking and stuff. So check that out tomorrow night, 6:30. That'll be good. And oh, Angel Face is here. Thank you for finding us. Thank you. Thanks for coming back. I'm on a completely different software now, and I think I'm going to stick with this one because it's working. So, anyways, so we got a few people here. We have in the middle Ragged Roads Moto. That is John. We also have his partner and better half on the other side. No, it's that side over
Oh
there.
no, this.
You're
I'm dyslexic to
backwards.
begin with, and then you're gonna do this every time. I'm just gonna.
There's Colin. These guys are Ragged Roads Moto. The reason why they're on here is because both of these two fellers, they just picked up Kove 450 rallies. Now, is it Kove or Kove?
That is a good question. We go back and forth every single time.
Yes.
I did notice that Josh was in here before. He's part of the Canadian distributor for
Yes,
Kove
that's
or
right.
Kove, so
Alberta Power Sports,
maybe he
right?
can. Yeah, maybe he can give us a phonetic sounding in the comments if he jumps in. We'll have
Yes.
to pin him down on that one.
hopefully he comes back. Did Small Man come to the rescue? No. Critter decided to shell out some money. That's what happened. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So much for riding tomorrow. I guess you got to work now.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I got to work tomorrow. Yep. That's right. All right. So, John, you're here. Colin, you're here. Tell all these folks a little bit about yourselves because I'm done talking.
Do you want to go first, Colin? I'm still not sure which way.
Colin's over there.
Sure. Well, I am half of Ragged Roads Moto. I do usually like the YouTube long form stuff. John's kind of like the magic Instagram man who makes all the hilarious Instagram content. But every time we go out, we shoot together, so it's definitely a two-man operation. I wasn't planning on being on this live stream tonight. I just kind of clicked the link because I figured that it would be better for Critter to have somebody to talk to than no one to talk to. But here I am. I'm also an advanced care paramedic. I happen to be up in the middle of nowhere at the moment, and it seems that my internet connection is actually more reliable than John's in Port Renfrew, which is where we both live.
Perfect. John?
Yeah. Basically what he said. I'm still not sure which way I'm supposed to point here, but I'm the other half of Ragged Roads Moto. We decided to team up on this and be able to shoot each other and get some more creative shots and some fresh looking content, and that's been our goal for the last little bit.
Perfect. Awesome. Great intro, guys. And everybody can find you on the socials, basically Ragged Roads Moto, right? Throughout everything.
That's the one. If you find a Sasquatch, you've come to the right place.
That's right. That's right. Right. Okay. Angel. At one time it disappeared or was renamed. Oh, okay. Just trying to check some of the questions in the comments here as we go along.
Yeah, we did do a little rename to our channel. Colin actually previously ran a channel called Trail Trash ADV when he was living in Nova Scotia, and part of my convincing to get him out here was that we'd take that channel and turn it into Ragged Roads and make something of it, hopefully.
There you go. Awesome. All right, you guys want to hit some questions?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, get after it. Let's go.
Okay, here we go. That's what we're here for. Let's talk about the Kove 450 and the CF Moto Ibex 450. One of them is far better than the others.
Ooh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Let's go. These are a bunch of questions that came across my socials and my Patreon page. So let's go to John first because you're in the middle. Speaking from the Kove perspective, the question was, what are the key differences in engine performance and power delivery between the CF Moto Ibex and the Kove 450 Rally?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and this is something we talked about at the Easter Giver.
That's right.
And they're in terms of how those engines perform, they're both 450s, but they're totally different. The Kove is a single cylinder versus the Ibex that has the twin. And the Kove also, it started life as a rally bike.
That's right.
So that engine revs. It is all high end. To try to do slow tractory stuff on it is difficult. It takes some clutch control, and when that bike decides it's going to stall, it stalls, and then you realize you've stalled it. There's no knowing it's going to stall. You're just done.
Right.
So yeah, not much low end power. Doesn't really like running in the bottom half of the RPM. But when you get that bike above 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 RPM, it's just incredible. It's at home. It's where that engine wants to be. I think it redlines at 9, but it's like that's where it wants to be. And like coming home from the Easter Giver on the back roads from Port Alberni to Renfrew, I was just like 8,500 RPM, fourth gear the whole way, and the bike just loved it.
Yeah.
And I think your experience on the CF Moto has been quite a bit different of what that engine likes.
Yeah, it is. The CF Moto, so power delivery there. First is super short. It's a short gear. It's designed for very little gas, very little clutch, and just to crawl. I went out with on the Gliffy mini rides, and I purposely tried to tractor up some pretty steep hills, and I put it in a second, and I went up as slow as I possibly could. Very, very, very little input on my part, and the bike just went da-da, 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 and up it went. It didn't want to stall. It just wanted to crawl, 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 crawl. On the flip side of that, I get the Ibex onto the highway, and much like you're saying with the Kove, I get up to 8,500, 6,500 RPM, 7,000 RPM, and the thing flies. It just wants to go. So it's very happy in the high end. That's where it's most comfortable. Totally capable of highway speeds. The difference is, I think the Ibex it will tractor, whereas the Kove won't tractor. So I think from a rider's perspective, if you're a little more not as skilled or not as daring, then maybe the Ibex would be a little bit better, simply because it does have that tractor ability. So it will perform slow if you want. What is the weight of the Kove?
The Kove is a bit lighter, actually. Wet, it's sitting at 155 kilos versus 190 kilos for the Ibex.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So and the Ibex, when she is going slow, that's when you notice. Well, for me, anyways, that's when I notice the weight. Normally, when I've been riding off road, I've been riding it like I ride Lucy, so I'm doing the single track and stuff. When the Ibex is going, I don't notice the weight at all. When I'm going slow, and you are doing a dab, or you're doing a duck waddle or whatever, right? That's when I'm like, oh yeah, I do have a little bit more weight here than what I'm used to. So yeah.
And I would say, I don't know if Colin agrees with me, but the Kove A or the Kove doesn't even ride like it's 155 kilos because
Right.
the fuel is slung down low, kind of like a KTM 890 style. You have some of your fuel there, and then you have some of your fuel under the seat. So like, to me, it does almost feel like it's sitting more in like the 125 kilo range. I don't know if you agree with that, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like it holds its weight down low. Not quite like GS 1200. Excuse me, not quite like GS 1200 type down low weight, but it's oddly stable for how much fuel you throw in it. And of course, 1 liter of fuel is about a kilogram, which is about 2.2 pounds. So if you put 30 liters of fuel in that, all of a sudden you're up 60 pounds. So I personally haven't noticed much of a difference between a full tank and an almost empty tank. But what about you, John? Have you noticed any kind of difference there?
No, when we got the bikes, because of those 30-liter tanks, I was like, I'm never filling this up. Like that's 60 pounds of fuel. I'm not carrying 60 pounds of fuel, but the bike doesn't notice it. I don't notice it. It really, I think part of it's that low fuel, that the fact that it's so low and under your seat, it just doesn't really matter.
Right.
One thing that did pop into my mind when you were talking about waddling and dabbing on the Ibex is that that's not really a thing for somebody of my stature on the Kove. That 38-inch seat height definitely means that I'm keeping my foot on the pegs, because that ground is not anywhere near my feet, which might put the Ibex again into maybe a bit better of a beginner friendly bike, because I think it's got a 32-inch seat height.
The stock one, yeah, is shorter. Yeah. I've raised mine up another 1.5 inches or so, 2 inches with the taller seat, and just stiffening up the suspension and new tires rose me up even higher. But yes, the Ibex does sit a lot lower, and it's a lot more beginner approachable, if you will, with that one. ADV Red Bikes had a question here with the Ibex. He's wondering if it's top heavy. I can answer that, and I can tell him no, it's not. Like these guys are saying with the Kove, I too don't notice a difference if I'm running full or if I'm running empty. I don't know how the Ibex is doing it. The gas tank is on top, but the Ibex is carrying all of its weight down low. So the Ibex, I feel the weight when I'm slow, and that's when the Ibex gets to that point. Then you're like, oh yeah, there's a bike underneath me. But prior to that 45 degree or whatever, there is, honestly, for me, coming from Lucy, the 250L, there was zero difference between the two. The two feel, it's kind of weird how at home I feel on the Ibex coming from the 250. They both ride exactly the same.
To be fair, at a full tank, you're only carrying a mere 17.5 liters of fuel.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, hey, 500 Kim range for you guys. For Alberta Power Sports is in here now, so he found us. That's great.
Yes, perfect. Josh, Kove, Kove. Type
yes.
it out.
What is
it?
proper?
What is it? This is why everybody came. Is it Kove or is it Kove? Come on, Josh. Come on, Josh.
There might be a bit of a lag.
Years to hear the answer.
Yeah.
Kove.
Kove.
Is it Kove? He's like, no, I'm trying to write Kove.
There you have it, folks. World first.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. It's Kove.
Owen's like Kove. No, only in Newfoundland is it Kove.
It's like, why can't a Newfoundlander count to 4? It's because there's a tree in the way, you know.
Yeah. I'm glad we got that all settled.
There we go.
That's it. That's
okay.
the only information.
All right.
From this, so
questions are answered. We're done. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys get about 500 Kims on yours, eh? That's not bad. That's actually really good if you're full.
Yeah, and I'd say we could probably milk more to that if we're riding conservatively. You know, if you start riding aggressively, you get up into the 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers, almost to 6. But if you're conservative, you can get like 5.2. So you might be able to stretch 600 out of it if you really are down to fumes.
Just to be clear, Colin, riding conservatives like 7,500 RPM.
yeah, there was. Well, oddly enough, it's funny you mention that because it actually gets better fuel economy if you rev the engine up. If you try and lug it like down low 4,000 or 5,000, it's not as happy in terms of its fuel consumption.
No, and I've noticed that on the Ibex as well, because it has the little, you can tell how many liters per whatever, right? And when I'm after it on it, the numbers go way down. I'm like, oh wow, this doesn't make any sense, but okay, cool. So I haven't run mine completely empty yet. It does say every time I fill it up that I have 398 Ks to go on a full tank, but I haven't tried that out yet. So we'll see what happens when I'm in Oregon here, and I'll try and run her out.
Yeah, we've actually both been having a bit of concern with our fuel gauges. Both for Colin and myself, we've been out on the road or on the trails, and our reserve light has come on.
Oh,
and we're going, there's no way, like, I put this much fuel in, I should have this many kilometers. There's no way this reserve light should be on. And I think for both Colin and I, we got back, we filled the tanks right to the top to see how much fuel we had left. And both of us put about 20 liters into our bikes, meaning we still had 10 liters left, which is like a full tank on a DRZ.
Yeah. Right?
So it's like, I think now that we both know that, and it seems to be consistent that the reserve light kicks on at 10 liters of fuel left, that we know. But it's definitely like the first few times you're like, whoa, why is my reserve light on? But it's just maybe because of the 3 tanks, really hard to dial in the exact level for the fuel level sender.
Right.
So,
all right. On to the next one. Question was, how do the suspension systems of both bikes compare in terms of adjustability and off-road capability?
This is a Colin question. He's the suspension tech nerd.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know about that. I'll tell you what I know about suspension. It goes up and down, and and if it goes bang, that's a problem. If it doesn't go down, that's also a problem. So I'm not going to be able to tell you the specs in terms of like how much travel there is and all of that. But what I can tell you is what you have for adjustments in the rear and the front. On the rear shock, you're getting high speed and low speed rebound and compression dampening and preload adjustability. And I mean, for the first 1,000 kilometers, I didn't even touch any of the settings on it, and it handled just fine. And then I started dialing it in just a little bit the last ride John and I went on before I flew north, and my God, like the performance difference of just making those few little clicks. I think if you're a suspension savvy individual and you like tinkering and you like adjusting for your ride, you're going to have a lot of fun with it because there's a ton of adjustability on either end. And then for the front, you do have your compression and rebound dampening on the suspension as well. But the front, I don't feel needs any adjustment. It's really good right from the showroom floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, for the Ibex, I know I got 20 clicks, and it comes off the floor in the middle at 10 for front and rear, and I haven't adjusted anything yet. Oh, that's a lie. I do have it fully loaded for my trip that I'm taking off on Sunday, and what I did is I adjusted the spring, so I just set the sag a bit more, so it's a little bit less. I'm still running completely factory. It's still relatively new for me. I've only ridden it maybe 10 times so far. So I want to play with it at stock settings, and then as I get to know the bike a little bit better, know its personality, then like you're saying, I'll start clicking it in and farting around with it. But I am impressed with the amount of adjustability I do have with this. So someone who is really into the techs and specs and the suspension could really nerd out on it and really dial it in really well. So, and it sounds like Kove's done the same, or Kove's done the same thing, right? So
yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I have noticed about the Kove suspension is that it actually feels like it's sprung correctly for your average person in that 160 to 180, 85 pounds, which is quite refreshing.
From the East Coast, so we'll say 200 pounds.
Yeah, but like coming from Japanese bikes, which just seem to be like chronically undersprung, chronically way too soft, it's refreshing to hear that both these bikes seem to have come with suspension that's closer to the average weight of a human being.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So it's the first bike I've ever owned that I'm like have no need to go respring or put different suspension on it. And it's like the T7, you can't even ride it out of the box. It's just junk. The Norden suspension, I'd go through the bottom of it riding on the street. Like it's just it's so refreshing to buy a bike and you're like, the suspension is good enough.
And John loves to spend money on bikes, like any excuse to spend money on bikes. So the fact that he's not spending money on the suspension immediately, like that's a big deal. Well done.
Yeah.
A wise man once told me that suspension saves lives.
I believe it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I never knew the importance of suspension until I put suspension on Lucy, and I was like, holy smokes, suspension. Whoa. Holy wow.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. We talked about the weight and height, how they handle. All right. Electronics, rider aids, ABS, traction control, ride modes. What does the Kove come with?
Colin and I have
John.
different ride modes on our bikes.
Okay.
It doesn't come with ride modes from factory either.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah, I guess the Kove, you just have your ABS on and off if you choose to keep that option, and that's it. There's no traction control. There's no ride modes, and Colin and I bicker back and forth because I hate forgetting the ABS on when I'm off road, so I just pull my ABS fuse.
Oh yeah,
and Colin's the opposite.
I do like having ABS on that front wheel. I do. I don't know. I'll take the extra time. I mean, same thing with the airbags. You know, I'll always click in my airbag. John has an electronic one, so he doesn't forget about it. But yeah, no rider modes. It's not a throttle by wire system, so you get that instant throttle response, which is really nice. But with that means no fancy tech in that regard. So yeah, just switchable ABS. You can turn off both ABS, or you can turn off just the rear, or you can do what John does and just pull the ABS fuse and forget about it.
It resets itself when you turn the key off.
When you turn the key off,
it does.
Yeah. And
then you gotta remember.
I've got ABS and traction control that I can turn off with a button. Hold for 3 seconds, it's done. I always forget to do that because this is the first bike I've had with ABS. Am I a fan of ABS? I'm still holding judgment on that because I feel that if you're a decent enough rider and are well enough at your emergency braking, you don't need it. It's actually been proven that the ABS stops you in a greater distance than proper emergency braking. However, I've just digressed. That's what I have on the Ibex for rider modes and stuff. Just that quick 3 seconds, off it goes. Same thing with the Kove though. If you do turn the key off, it resets itself. So you turn it back on, you got to press it again, and that's where I continually forget. And going downhill at full bore, and you have ABS on, that sucks.
It's not fun.
Sucks bad. No, not at all. That's like, what the hell is going on?
That is what we call a toboggan of regret when you're riding that thing.
Yes, 100%.
And is it ride by wire, or is it cable throttle on the
cable? It's cable.
So no cruise control either.
No cruise control. That gets me into a whole nother topic that I could do a rant on about cruise control and stuff, but I won't. I don't believe in cruise control. I have it on my vehicles, my truck and my van. I never use it. I personally am the type of guy that I want to be interacting with the machine at all times. Cruise control to me seems lazy. It's just, if you want to ride, go ride in a car. If you want to ride a motorcycle, you need your throttle, you need your clutch, you need this stuff. You're riding the motorcycle, you're not riding on the motorcycle. And if you're riding and your wrist gets sore after 6 hours, well, maybe it's time for a break. Have a coffee. So, but anyways, I went off.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, I should argue with you because I can see how passionate you are about this. Your face is actually turning red. But then I'm like, it's going to turn into like a 10-hour YouTube live about cruise control.
No.
So nice to shake the wrist out for a minute, like.
Yeah.
Or you can ride the bike with one hand and shoot with the camera on the other. Like,
yeah. There you go. I am a little bit red. I'll turn that down.
Is there a quick shifter on the Ibex?
It technically isn't a quick shifter, but it does quick shift. It will go bang, 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 bang. Yeah.
Up and down.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm hoping
that's actually something I was really impressed with the Ibex was the transmission. It is so, like, there's no ka-dunk, no miss. It's just bam, 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 and away you go. And with the once you get to know the bike, you hold that throttle, you get to a certain, you get to know the RPMs, you can just go bang, 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 and it goes. So I had my first experience with the quick shifter on the Transalp, and at first I was like, I don't, but then, after the weekend of having it, I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that. That's kind of fun.
They're pretty nice.
So,
I haven't tried a clutchless shift on the Kove yet. I don't know if you have, Colin.
I think I have accidentally a lot of times. Specifically downshifting off-road, and the transmission hasn't blown up yet. So, Josh, I don't know if you want to leave a little comment in the chat there about that, or whether I should be doing it or not.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go grab your bike tomorrow for a little ride, and I'll try some clutchless shifts, and I'll report back on how it is.
Yeah, please do. Please do. If you could adjust the chain for me while I'm there, so it's all ready to go when I get back, that would be.
Yeah. The transmission will be gone out of it, but your chain tension will be right.
Right.
Yeah. No, I would say the transmission's pretty smooth on the Kove too, with shifting with the clutch. I haven't had any big bangs or snaps on any shifts. We did when we picked the bikes up from the shop though, they were twitchy to ride. That engine was so tight. Both Colin and I were kind of like, oh boy, what have we done? Like first rally bikes, and these things are so twitchy. But that has really, like, even within 100 kilometers on them, it really changed.
Smart enough to be one
thing I would say to people, if you do get a test ride on one of these bikes, or get an opportunity to jump on one, or you buy one and you're taking it out of the shop, how it rides for the first few 100K is not how you should judge that bike, because it smooths right out. But they were near impossible to ride out of the shop. It was tough going.
Now, this is the very first brand new bike I've ever had in my entire 40 years of riding. And I noticed the same thing on the Ibex. So is that pretty typical for brand new bikes to be a little bit snotty and until they get settled in?
Not any of the other new bikes I've ridden.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. So internet cut out there.
Yeah, like I've ridden a couple other brand new bikes with 0K, and they weren't as twitchy.
Right.
But I don't know if it's a sign that it's like built well, the piston rings are tight and they just got to work their way in, or what it is, but it's been fine ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Ibex was the same thing for the first, I don't know, a little bit. I noticed it was like, whoa, really, like there's no, and then after a while it just sort of settled in. After a while I'm like, oh, it must be a new bike thing, I guess. I'm not sure, but I did notice on a lot of the Facebook forums, a lot of guys are saying, oh, the throttle's too twitchy, there's a dead spot in the throttle, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. But now that I've ridden it for a while, and I'm well past the break-in stage and she's settled in, it's normal now. So I was just wondering, never having a brand new bike myself ever, that maybe that was a new bike thing. But
yeah, have you experienced that before, Colin, or anybody in the comments?
Yeah, I mean, I've had 4 new bikes. Oh my god, I'm so privileged. A V-Strom 650, KLX 300, an XD 250, and now the Kove 450.
Right.
And I would say the KLX 300 was kind of twitchy and tough, and it kind of had a similar, not to the same extent because it wasn't a rally bike, had a similar kind of break-in. The V-Strom and the XT 250, not so much. But again, like within 100 kilometers of riding the Kove 450, it's really smoothed out. And then at like the 500 kilometer mark, it's like, wow, this is even better. And then we're at 1,000 kilometers, it's like, wow, this is amazing. So
right.
I've heard that up to 5,000 kilometers, these engines just keep getting better and better
and better.
And I was apprehensive. I think John and I both were apprehensive when we heard that. But it's tangible. Like you can feel it. Like every time you go out and ride, you're like, wow, this has changed.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit better tractor factor every 100K we put on those engines. They do seem to be liking the lower end a little bit more. I don't think it'll ever be the low end like the Ibex, but it does seem to be working in better.
Right. Yeah, I'm noticing that with mine too. It's getting more and more comfortable as I go, which, not to be the devil's advocate or anything, or however you want to say it, but if the bike is so tight at the beginning and we're riding it, we're getting thousands and thousands of kims into it and it's getting easier, does that mean it's just going to start keep on going downhill and then to the point of getting sloppy, right? Like a lot of people are wondering and curious about the longevity of these things, right? So, and I guess no one really knows just yet because they're both relatively fairly new, right? I mean, CF Moto's been around since '89, but the bike itself is fairly new. So,
yeah, we did some talking to some of the guys in the U.S. that got the Koves almost 2 years ago, the off-road 450s, and I'm farting on his name, Rally Russ. I think what was he at 60,000 miles on his when we talked
something
to
crazy
him
like that
6 months ago.
Oh wow!
So yeah, 90,000 kilometers, and he's like, I've changed my oil and tires. So like
that's great.
And he rides hard. You look at his Instagram, and he is sending that bike and putting it through its paces. And I think that was one of the comments from one of our friends who's he's an older gentleman, owns a million bikes, follows Dakar and MotoGP religiously. When he saw the Kove, the first thing out of his mouth was like, "This bike is so overbuilt. This is insane for a 450 dirt bike."
Right.
And then he saw him step back, and he's like, "It's the Dakar heritage, right? Like that bike was built for Dakar, so they have overbuilt it." And so I think, there's always gonna be a reliability concern with a new bike, with a brand that's not known. But with the Kove, they've tested it and they built it for Dakar.
That's right.
We should be able
finished.
to
It's won. It's not one, but it's finished the car. So
it's finished.
That's a huge testament right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we should be able to ride the snot out of them and hopefully not have too many issues. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
I personally am not concerned. Sorry, Colin. Go ahead, Colin.
No, go ahead. No, and all I was going to say is, we talked to Josh before the bikes came, and they were, even if something breaks on them, I know parts availability is often a question people have when it comes to kind of newer manufacturers in a market, and they were really diligent about making sure that they got enough parts to rebuild every single motorcycle twice, and that stock's in Canada. Again, the only thing that I've heard of going wrong with them is the occasional starter blowing up, which can happen to any bike at any time if your battery craps out, right? It'll be what it'll be. I think they're going to be just fine, but time will tell.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I think they're going to be totally fine. I have every faith in both motorcycles really lasting. Crashimoto, I know him down in the States, and then Russ Patton up here in BC. They love their Koves, and they both ride them hard, and they've had nothing but no issues, nothing but fun with them, right? So, I think they're going to be fine. I think there's a lot of maybe people that want to see them fail, if I will.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. I can confirm that parts do ship pretty quick.
There you go. Perfect. I was down at Giant Loop either last year or the year before. I think it was last year. Might have been the year before. They all blend together after a while, but they had the Koves down there, and I was talking to the guy down there for Kove USA, and one of the questions was brought up about parts, and I was overhearing the conversation, and the guy said, "You know what? If you ever get stuck for parts, the Honda 450, they just go like this." So apparently there's a crossover there with some of the parts there. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what I overheard. So
yeah, Josh might be able to answer that one.
My internet cut out. What bike is that again? Where's the crossover?
The Honda 450, the 450R.
Honda 450. Okay.
Yeah. So he said there's parts that will go clicky.
What I always, or how I think about it, is like the parts are all coming from China. This is what China does. They can supply the world with everything. Like,
absolutely.
I don't think, even if the parts are not available in North America, that you'll be waiting that much longer to get the part from China. And I'm pretty sure that off-road air filter or air box actually came from China, and it was here in a week. So I don't think it adds that much more time. And just because these bikes are Chinese doesn't mean that other bikes don't have parts availability issues either. Like that was one of the reasons I sold my Husqvarna, is there was never parts available, and I was getting crazy like 6 month to 12-month wait.
Yeah, that's crazy
on normal wear and tear parts. And you're like,
yeah, I want to buy a bike just so it sits in the garage. Yeah, no, I want to ride.
Husqvarna KTM, that's what you need.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. I want to quickly just talk about this question here from you said his name's Josh from Alberta Power Sports. Yeah. How do they handle being dropped? So let's talk about dropping our bikes.
That's a Colin. Wait, which way am I
pointing? No, Colin's over there.
Colin, how does
you guys all look over there?
Dropped?
Well, if you give them let's start here. All bikes are heavy when you have to pick them up. Okay. But honest to goodness, I wrecked the first day that I took the Kove out, and I actually separated my shoulder and couldn't ride for 2 weeks. I was pissed. But I let other people ride it, and they dropped the bike, and the worst thing that happened to it was like a little bit of superficial damage to like the decal, and the clutch and brake lever actually have breakaways on them, so that if you drop it and it hits the ground, it'll just snap off the little end instead of destroying your whole control panel. So when I lent it to a friend and they dropped it, that broke off. And just put handguards on your off-road bike. I mean, that just makes sense, right? Don't be me. Don't be dumb like me. Put handguards on.
Yeah. Once you got handguards on there, you can't really break the levers unless you get something up in it. But yeah, I've dropped mine a ton of times, and just the normal little scratch and ding here and there. It seems like the foot pegs, the shifter, the brake pedal are all pretty well protected. With those low slung fuel tanks, there was maybe like a bit of concern. Can you really jam something up into those? But we're going to be putting on the new Outback Motortech skid plates soon, and they actually have little additional covers.
Yeah, I saw that. They're awesome.
Yeah, so that's going to be nice. But yeah, from my experience of dropping my bike 6, 7, 8 times now, that
conservative estimate.
No damage.
Great. All right. Well, for me, for dropping the Ibex, I'd be scared to drop the Ibex. And I was actually real hesitant and really cautious riding off road until I got my Outback Motortech crash bar and skid plate on there. Simply because the plastics on them, they feel a lot more rigid, if you will, compared to like say the CRF 250L that I have. Like there's no pliability there. So I could definitely see that if you didn't have the bike armored and protected, if you dropped it, you would break a side plastic for sure. Now, also having installed the nav system in there and pulling off a side panel, one thing I noticed too about the way that the Ibex attaches the plastics, their mechanism for doing that is a 2-part, and there's like a pin and then almost like a clothespin that goes over top of that, and that's what kind of holds everything in place. So when that pops, that little white clothespin goes twing, and you've got to be mindful. But the way that it's done in a like 2-stage fashion like that, I could see that being a real fail point in a wreck, right? Or a tip over. Same thing with the adjustable windscreen. It's very cool to have it come up and down, and it goes probably about 2 inches difference in height, which is nice. But I could see the mechanism itself is just a hard plastic, and I could see if you laid her over or smashed into a tree or a branch too hard, I can see that as a fail point. So I would say that the Kove is definitely a lot stronger in that sense, a lot more abuser friendly, if you will. So she's willing to take a lot more abuse than say the Ibex is. So
yeah, the nice part about the plastics on the Kove is they're supported by the fuel behind them, and I think that helps strengthen it.
okay,
like you'd be in a terrible situation if you put a hole through the plastics on the Kove, because most of those exterior plastics are actually your fuel tanks.
Yeah, that's right.
There's nothing in between. You have that front fairing that the windshield's attached to that you could break and keep riding without that. That'd be fine. But yeah, if you do damage the plastics on the Kove, that's your fuel tank you're putting a hole through.
Right.
Fuel protecting the plastic is brilliant. I agree.
Right. Well, with insurance claims, it makes it easy. I mean, you just make sure it catches on fire, and it's. That is not me suggesting anyone do that. Don't sue me.
Look, everyone likes my idea. You guys laughed at me, but everyone's like, John's a genius. Like, that fuel does help strengthen the plastics on the Kove.
Critter, I've got a question for you about the engine on the Ibex.
Yeah.
So I know with parallel twins, typically you end up getting some vibrations when you get higher up in the rev range. How do you find it when you're stringing it out in that period where the engine's quite happy?
Well, that's you have to realize that I'm coming from the 250L that has an identity crisis, that thinks she's a GS, right? So I'm riding the 250L down the highway all the time, and I'm constantly doing 7,000-8,000 K trips on the 250L. So to come to the Ibex, is it super buzzy on the highway speeds? For me, no. I don't mind it at all. And I'm running the Motaz Tractionator Adventures, which are a knobby tire.
Oh yeah.
So you already have a down the highway anyways, and that kind of stuff doesn't bother me at all. That's maybe I'm a little bit of a is it a sadist or a masochist? But I feel like you almost have to have a little bit of pain and discomfort when you're riding, and that's what makes riding. But I don't know, like the buzzy tires doesn't bug me. The buzzy motor, noisy tires doesn't bother me. The buzzy motor doesn't bother me. It's not a, I don't know, it's not a deal breaker for me or anything. So I still find it super smooth compared to.
Yeah.
And my other bike is the VTX 1300, a big twin, and that thing is way rougher at speed than the Ibex is, because that thing is just boom, 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 and it's gonna fuck you off, right? But yeah, no, the Ibex is totally at the high RPMs, no problem. So we're definitely going to throw that to the test come Sunday when I take off on my trip, and I start logging some really long days into it. So far, the longest day that we've had is maybe 6.5, 7 hours for one of the Gliffy minis of a full day riding, and we'll see how the trip goes, and ask me again in 2 weeks, and my view might be completely different. So yeah.
Should we talk about seat comfort between the two bikes while we're here talking about longer?
Yes, we definitely should. Let's talk about our tushes. Yes.
Seat on the Kove is about that wide.
That's all right. Yeah, it's a big old 2x4, right?
Yeah, it's that thick.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's way more plush than it ought to be, and it's super grippy. Like I was actually, like, honest to God, I was blown away at how comfortable that seat was, because I was expecting like that plank 2x4 dirt bike seat, and it's not that. It's not.
Right.
It's surprisingly comfy.
Yeah. The seat on the Ibex is even the stock seat was pretty comfy. I went with the tall seat just because I've got long legs. And the very first thing I noticed when I rode it out of the dealership is I stopped at a stop sign and went to put my foot down, and my foot hit the ground so fast. It was like, oh, wow. 'Cause I'm used to actually I've got Lucy raised right up, and when I'm on top of Lucy, my legs are straight, full straight for flat foot, right? And my leg was still bent, and I was oh. So that's why I raised it up. And now that I've got the tall seat on there, it's super plush. It's like 2.5 inches of foam. It's just so.
And it's pretty wide too.
It is pretty wide. Yeah. It's no G-string, that's for sure.
One way of putting it. Yeah. I do have to agree with Colin that for a dual sport seat, it's probably one of the more comfortable I've sat on. Like you sit on a new Honda 300, and it's like, did they remember to put foam in this?
Yeah, right.
Like, do you want to be sitting on that seat for 4 hours straight on the highway? Probably not. Can you do it if you have to? Yeah, you would. But you're going to be standing up every chance you can get to.
Yeah.
How do you find the ergonomics on the Ibex? Is it more feel like it's better sitting on the street or standing up off road, or?
Well, okay. So when I in the first couple of videos, I hadn't done any kind of modifications to it, and right out of the box, for me, 6'2", 33, 34-inch inseam, it's too short. So that's why I put the taller seat on it. And the bars are way low. So my first couple of rides off-road, I was really hunched over, and there's so much so that it was really uncomfortable and unnerving to ride, really, at my height, right? So I put the 1-inch bar risers in there, and they made the huge difference. So I know there's a whole big debate on whether you need bar risers or not. I think that's just where the Ibex is trying to go after the beginner, smaller stature people and that kind of thing. But now that the risers are in there, I do have my 10 to 15 degree lean on the forward. My elbows are bent, and it's right at home. So now that I've removed the rubber inserts out of the pegs, that's one thing about the Ibex. The stock pegs are really nice and wide. Just take the rubber out. I don't need aftermarket pegs now, but just take the rubber out of the pegs, taller seat, and bar risers, and she's plenty comfy for me at 6'2", and then super long legs and super long arms. So yeah, when I'm sitting on it, stock seat, like I mentioned, is a little too short for me. My legs, yes, they were bent. I would be fine for 4, 5, 6 hours. I would feel it after that for sure. The stock seat, what really got me is when just putting my foot down when we came to stops, because it was like my foot was on the ground like right away. Now it's amazing how much just a couple of inches will make a difference, right? So now with that's what she said. But yeah, now with the comfort seat on there, it's night and day difference. So the ergos for me feel really good. Bar risers, and I rolled the bars forward slightly as well. So yeah, for my long arms and everything, now I've got it dialed in. So again, another nice thing about the Ibex is it does have the ability to be dialed in to an individual, whereas there are some bikes that just won't be able to get dialed in at all, no matter how hard you try. So
yeah, when you mentioned the low bars on the Ibex, my first thought is like, oh, I wonder if that comes from a bit of the KTM partnership, because I would say most of the KTMs, their adventure bikes, they're pretty low bars.
Yeah,
so
yeah, could be
a little design influence from KTM.
Yeah,
putting the low bars
the KTM
on.
bar. The KTM bar is a low bar to reach for most manufacturers these days.
Good one.
Clearly, none of us are sponsored by KTM in this chat.
That's right. Yeah. I actually noticed on the Ibex, I noticed a lot of influences throughout the bike from different manufacturers. So even so far as the swing arm is slightly higher than most, like what the Yamaha did with the T7. So the
I
swing
like the
arm's up
sounds
a
of
little
this.
bit. Yeah. And I also noticed the tank when I'm sitting on the bike. It's very and I actually mentioned in one of my videos. It's very reminiscent of sitting on top of an Africa Twin. So and like the way the fairing comes through and the design of the fairing and everything, I'm like, I think I'm on a Twin. And then like you're mentioning with the low bars, I didn't realize that KTM's came with low bars, and I'm like, uh-huh. So the Ibex could be like they're cherry picking from everything to create this thing, right? So yeah,
that's interesting. And that's Colin and I have had the conversation because my other bike is a T7,
right?
And that angled swing arm and the high counter shaft, how the Tenere just like digs for traction. You always have it there. And
Right.
we were out riding the Koves, and I'm like hanging my butt off the back of the seat, being like, "Come on, I need traction," and it's not feeling like it's there. So much to the point that I'm wheeling everywhere. And Colin's like, "Why are you so far back?" I'm like, "I feel like I'm not driving traction to the ground." And we had that realization of the T7 drives that traction with the high counter shaft sprocket, and the Kove does not. So little difference there.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason that you have trouble driving traction into the ground, and sorry, John, I'm gonna sell you out. John shares his bike with someone, and that person is his wife. And so John's wife is a lot lighter than John is. So like the first day we took all the preload off of that rear shock. So that may have something to do with it.
True.
Because I personally don't have that issue.
Yeah.
But I'm also a little bit bigger, so
I'm only saying this now because I know my wife is currently on a flight to France. But the reason I was able to get the Kove is because I convinced my wife that it was going to be her new bike.
There you go. There you go.
The best bike for you, babe. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smarter than your average bear right here.
One of the other questions. This one was really we kind of touched on it a bit, but this one was really probably one of the biggest ones that came across, and it's obviously you guys probably know the question, but the build quality. How does the build quality durability compare to other bikes that you've ridden before? And then one of them was wondering like how they felt the build quality was going to be for super demanding off-road conditions. I think we've already touched on this on the Kove for sure. In fact, Josh had a comment up there about riding a Kove off a cliff and then picking it up and winding it out at 9,000 K, no problem, right? So 9,000 RPM, I mean. So first impression out of the box for you guys, you open up your package, there's your brand new shiny bikes, and what's your impression on the build quality?
You want to take that one, Colin?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I've owned a lot of new Japanese bikes, and a lot of used Japanese bikes, and I mean, I was looking, like, I was trying to find something that made me go, I couldn't find it. I can't find it. Like, it's built well. The fit and finish is good. I see nothing on that bike where I'm like, oh, I don't know why they did that way. Everything just makes sense. Yeah,
Right.
I'm very happy. The only thing, and I'm really digging here. The only thing is that I started to have a little bit of my decal start to peel. But is that because I ride in sand and dirt and mud? Yes, probably. I mean, you could. Some people may try and put that back on the manufacturer, but I personally think it'll look good as just a blank white slate too. So we'll see how much of the decals come off in time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with Colin. We were maybe it's just because they're Chinese and they're new. There was a bit of skepticism. We wanted to find that thing, and when we were at the shop, they were doing the PDI. The fit and finish just seemed fine. It's not a premium adventure bike fit and finish, but the Kove is not a premium adventure bike.
Right.
If you put it in with dual sport fit and finish, it's on par with the Honda 300, with the KLX. Like, you get the classic OEM levers that work just fine. They're not the fancy aftermarket looking ones. Like, everything's just just there. Yeah, the biggest thing out of the fit and finish for me was that there's no immediate mods to do to the bike. Just like how you mentioned your foot pegs on the Ibex, they're big enough that it's fine. Same on the Kove, they're big enough that it's fine. There's nothing other than hand guards that you really need to put on the Kove when you get it out of the box. Everything's good enough.
Yeah. Which is for me, ever since I got into the adventure world, dirt world, to have a couple of bikes come off the line like that is really refreshing, because up until this point, every bike you bought, oh, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this. And here we are, two bikes that basically, because the Ibex 2 needs handguards, proper handguards, but two bikes that need handguards, and you're gone. Bye. Yeah. Go have fun. Right. So, yeah.
They don't even try to trick you with plastic handguards on the Kove. There's just none on it.
Right.
There's not even bar ends. Like, it's just like, it's like you're at the shop and you're like, well, I have to buy handguards. There's no, well, Colin didn't, but someone might have talked him out of it though.
Yeah.
I was like, I got a pair at home that'll work, and he gets home. He's like, no, they don't work at all. I was like,
yeah, okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, I did the same thing with mine when I got it home, because I knew people would ask, right? So I went through and I started pulling the seat out, and I started pulling the panels off, and I went through, and I knew people would ask and would want to know. So I was checking all the welds, I was checking the paint, I was looking for little bits of rust, if anything, right away. I've read stories of and seen pictures of other manufacturers in a brand new bike, and there's rust on the frame already. Checking out, making sure everything was tight, everything's locked. And as I was going through, you can see the felt markers on each fastener to the body panel where everything was locked in, and they've marked everything. Every single nut and bolt had a mark on it, everything. Yeah. So fit and finish wise, really, really, really impressive. Could things have been done better? Absolutely. But we are talking a lower price point bike, right? Like I mentioned, the body panels, they could be of more pliable plastic with a better fastener system. The paint on the tank, because the tank is metal, it could be better. I did have a small tip over in the garage again, like I did with the Transalp, and the tank rubbed up against my toolbox and it chipped. And it was just like, it shouldn't have chipped. Like, the paint should have been thicker and a little bit stronger. And then I threw a tank bag on there before the bike got wrapped, and the tank bag destroyed the paint. And the tank bag was only on there for about a week. So they could do a better job painting the tank, putting a better quality paint on there. Having said that, though, being part of the forums and Facebook groups, it seems like everybody, the very first thing they're doing is buying the sticker that goes on the tank and the side panels for your knees and protection sticker, right? But maybe they could include that with a bike then, or something. But we're grasping at straws, really, right? Because we get back to the price point of the bike, and
yeah, that is one pretty sizable difference between the Ibex and the Kove, though, is the price.
Right.
Yeah, because you're the Ibex, I think you're looking at about $8,000 before your PDI and freight and taxes.
Yeah, knowing that this live was coming up, I was talking to VI Power Sports there, and if someone was to go with basically nothing down and get the extended warranty and stuff, they would be out the door for just under $12,000.
Okay.
After freight and PDI and all that jazz, but it's just under $9,000 on the sticker price, right? On the price tag.
Okay, $9,000, and then I think for the Kove it's $12,500 before anything.
Right.
So
right.
Pretty big jump. $12,500 plus all your taxes, PDI, freight. You're probably getting 15, 16. So
right.
Big difference in price, and that's one thing where it is hard, because you feel like with all the tech on the Ibex and like that fuller fairing and finish, that it should be a more expensive bike. But yeah, big jump up in the price to go for the Kove.
Right.
But maybe you're paying for all that Dakar R&D.
It could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Paying for the ability to carry that much more fuel.
That's true. I mean,
Yeah.
I think with all bike prices coming up that it's not a crazy price for the bike. I think the Ibex is exceptional value. Like, I'd be tempted to say that somebody in the chain isn't making much money selling that bike at 8. You know, because even you compare it to a Royal Enfield, like the new Himalayan that falls in that same price, and it feels like even that you get a bit less bike than what you're getting for the Ibex.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
You start putting the Kove against the KTM 501 or bikes like that, and it does sit in that same price. And to me, you're getting 10 times the bike you are from many of the other dual sport options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Carl. Well, we know which bike Carl wants to get eventually.
That's right.
Carl, shoot me a DM. I'll bring you by 30 liters of fuel, and you could give me 15 grand, and that'll be a fair trade.
Good old Carl deserves. He not only needs, he deserves a Kove 450.
I was at the Eastern
They should
River.
sponsor that guy.
I was trying so hard to get him on mine. I was like, "Come on, just take it." I think he was like, "No, I'm gonna just ride it home if I take your bike."
That's right. Yeah. All right. Do I have any others? Oh, we talked pricing already. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked seat height. We talked fuel. One of the things that Colin and I are going to answer on these bikes is because they're designed as rally bikes, they're made to race the Dakar. How are they going to be for adventure bikes? Because that's what we want to do with them. We're not racing the Dakar, or at least I'm not. But that's one of the key differences between the two bikes. Is the Ibex is specifically designed to be an adventure bike, and the Kove it's a rally bike.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting that that you guys picked up the Koves and you want to turn that into an adventure bike, and I picked up the Ibex and I'm going to ride it like a dual sport. It's like,
what is it with us getting things that aren't designed to do getting things that aren't designed to do the thing we want them to do, and then trying to make them do that thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Masochism, is that what it is?
Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't learned my lesson.
For me, I wanted a lighter bike from the T7 and the Husqvarna Norden, but I still wanted the fuel range.
Yes.
And it just the options were so limited. Like, you know, I know I could go DRZ in the big fuel tank, and you know, the Honda 300 in the big fuel tank, but it seemed like there was compromises to that, and then the cost of buying those bikes, doing those mods, and to have this option that was like right out of the box. It's like, okay, this is the dream long haul adventure dual sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really excited to see if we can turn it into that bike that both Colin and I want, where we never have fuel anxiety ever.
Right.
Because that reserve light comes on with 100K of fuel left, or 100. Yeah. Like it's going to be interesting, that build.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that really intrigued me about those when they first came out, was the range. Because even with the Cherbys tank on Lucy and carrying an Armadillo bag with me, when I'm riding down southeastern Oregon, I still have fuel range anxiety. I'm like, oh, I guess. But as soon as I saw those things with the amount of fuel, I'm like, I can go for days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll work for you.
Never again. Although we've both had those reserve lights come on and freak out, even though we've had 10 liters of fuel left.
200 kilometer reserve range. It's just not enough, you know.
Yeah.
I think a big thing for me is going to be to try to get a little bit more low end out of that engine. for when you do get into the super techie stuff, especially if you got your luggage and you got some weight. That's going to be I think the biggest challenge of turning these Koves into adventure bikes is to get a little bit more crawl factor for the techie stuff with luggage.
Yeah. Getting her loaded down, it's going to be a completely different beast, right? So yeah.
There's that too. We'll see how they handle, especially because all of a sudden you're going to have a lot of weight back with your fuel at the back, with your luggage on the back, and those things already like to wheelie. So
right.
We have how many machines do I own? Just came up as a question.
Oh, how many, John?
Right now, just the Tenere 700 because the Kove is my wife's. We've already cleared this up. I have one bike.
I don't think she's going to be watching, so it's okay, John.
Yeah, I know. That's why I can say this. It's like we planned it at the time when she was on an airplane, so I can just be honest with her.
There you go.
Yeah, I definitely won't be riding her bike while she's gone.
Dang.
Yeah. The Kove is a gas station on wheels. Yep, basically.
Soilsman saying, I have a GSA with 35 liters of fuel and he still gets fuel anxiety when he rides by himself.
No. All right.
We'll
we got any other?
Limit.
Just going back through the comments to see if there's any other questions in there.
Yeah. We just got asked about the warranty on both the Ibex and the Kove.
Oh, okay.
I'm
not actually sure about the Kove warranty.
Yeah, I can tell you there is one.
Yeah. I know for mine, like I've got 5 years on mine. What all is under that 5 years and the breakdown? I don't know. Sorry, I didn't pay attention. Oh,
yeah,
John's typing away.
Is it's a 12-month warranty. Kind of good faith. I'm not sure all of what's covered under it, but I'd assume just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked it up here. 12 months on parts and labor from the date of delivery.
Right.
So, but
which makes sense. It's a rally bike. You're trashing it off road, right? Like,
yeah,
that's right.
And that's how the way we ride, any damage this bike is going to suffer is probably self-inflicted.
Yeah, that's right.
So
right. One thing that's really weird for this for the Ibex that is new and weird for me are the over-air updates on it. Yeah, so it has the app that goes to the bike, and all of your diagnostics are on you can see exactly how your bike is doing and performing day to day, even ride to ride. It'll track you. Yeah, and we just had an update yesterday. So the firmware in the motorcycle is constantly developing and updating and as people were talking about the twitchy throttle, an update came up for the ECU, and it's just like this weird. And for me, that's bizarre. So every time I turn on the bike, the phone talks to the bike right away, and then on the TFT on the bike goes new update. Oh, okay. Well, click, beep, update, done. I don't know what it did, but
interesting. Do you think almost like the old DJI drones where they'd send an update and you couldn't fly it until you got the update? Do you think it'll be the same for that? If your bike sends us, hey, there's an update, and you go, oh, I'm not going to update that, you ride out of service, then will it not? If it can't update, will it not let you ride?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know I have geofencing on mine, which is part of the app as well, so you can always locate your bike. And when I have geofencing enabled, I have it set for a 10K radius around my home. I purposely tested this out, and once you cross that 10K, it goes into low power mode. The bike goes to low power mode.
Oh, limps it.
Yeah, it goes into limp mode. So it's like an anti-theft device, right? And you can constantly track. So I left the phone at home so that didn't think I was with the motorcycle, and away I went. 10K, and then all of a sudden, come on, baby, come on, and just bum, 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 bum. It was totally weird.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's bizarre. The downside is you have to remember to turn it off.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process at first was like both the over-the-air updates and the security feature are cool, but what if they glitch?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That.
Yeah. Well, it's like you could kind of really dummy it down and say it's like a power window in a car. When that power window motor goes, you got no more window. So it's the same thing. Like when the software glitches, what happens to the bike? Right. So it's kind of the same thing. So yeah, there is it's really weird for me. Really, well, you saw how the last live stream went. Like, oh my God, like technology. Hang on a second, right? But yeah, it's bizarre, very weird.
Have you had a chance to do an oil change on your Ibex yet?
Yes, the oil change has been done. One thing that I noticed with the Ibex is they come with a magnetic oil plug, which is very cool. Right out of the box. You don't have to aftermarket that. So I didn't do it personally myself. I took it to the shop and watched the guys do it, and super easy, bang, bang, done. Everything was beautiful. They ran through the whole thing, and it's all good. So, yeah.
How's the oil change process on the Kove there, Colin?
Well, John had done his oil change before I did, and just wanted to observe me doing it without giving me any instructions. It's a process. The exhaust has to come off, not the header, just the rear pipe. But it's more involved than you'd think it would be for an oil change. You do have a magnetic drain plug, but there's two oil screens and the oil filter. So there's a lot of trying, especially the one side by the exhaust, trying to get in there to get that one oil screen is a challenge. But I'd say with the right tool, it'll be a nothing burger. But for the first time, it was it took longer than I expected.
It's the most extensive oil change process I've ever had on a motorcycle. Just that you got 3 extra bolts with the exhaust to take off, and then I don't think I've ever had a bike with 2 oil screens to clean. And yeah, the one is like I started looking at actually taking the whole exhaust header off to get to this oil screen bolt, because even when you take off the tailpipe section, your header pipe's still in the way of this bolt, and it's tricky to get at. It's tricky to get that bolt broken and out, and then it's tricky to get the screen out from the hole. But it's not a 10-minute oil change on the Kove. It's a bit more involved, and the skid plate's got to come off, as with most bikes. I assume it's the same with the CF Moto.
Yeah. The skid plate did have to come off. The stock one doesn't have to come off if you're still running the stock. It doesn't need to come off, but the Outback Motor Trek is so much better that it does have to come off.
Yeah, more
and that's one thing I will say. I'll shout those guys out right now. I installed the skid plate and the crash bars onto this bike, and you would be hard pressed to know that it's an aftermarket part. It just went click, click, click. I had the skid plate on and the crash bars on in 30 minutes. Done. It's just like, it was super, super, super easy. And now that they're on there, it's tough as nails. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah, that's my experience too with anything Outback. If their part doesn't fit, it's probably because your frame's bent.
Right. Yeah.
That one hurt to say. That one hurt to say. There's a story.
Did your part not fit? There's a story for that.
There's a story for that.
And his frame was bent. Long story
Yeah,
short.
thanks. Just rub that one in. I know Outback has a bit of a line coming for the Kove. It's not out yet, but I think they got the skid plate, the fuel tank guards, tail rack, luggage support, rad guard, which will be pretty rad, and I think maybe a few other things, but I don't know if we're allowed to say it yet. So But they're Outback's going pretty hard at parts for the Kove, so we're super excited.
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything we're missing? What any other questions? Anything important about either of these bikes?
Don't know. I think we hit all the questions that were in the comments there. Moto mining, sorry to hear about that, dude.
There was a bit more of a political question about the values of these companies, of both CF Moto and Kove, which I'm honestly not sure about.
I don't know. You said political, and I tuned out.
Yeah, they're just asking, I guess, to kind of going along with human rights and China's record for that. If CF Moto or Kove are known to be good or bad, and I'm honestly not sure.
I don't know.
Like
all I know is CF Moto's been around since 1989. So they've been doing something for almost 40 years now. So
yeah. I think Kove's been around for quite a bit too. I don't think quite that long, but it's not a brand new brand. Just new to the North American market.
Yeah.
But CF Moto's been in North America for quite a few years with their ATVs and their side-by-sides.
That's right. Yeah.
Wobbly Waldo was saying that a crate engine for a Kove 450 is $1,750 USD.
I've heard the same, $2,000 for a new engine.
Like, wild.
It's barely worth rebuilding. Just put a new engine in.
Right. And I saw we had a message from. No, I lost it.
Owen's shouting you out, Colin. So yes, thanks for hanging out from a camp room. That's awesome.
Nobody's banging on my door telling me to shut up yet. That might come soon. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was waiting for the emergency to come up and you have to run out.
Also a possibility. No, it was a question from Angel Moto.
Oh, okay.
And it was basically she was wondering if we think that with the CF Moto Ibex 450 coming out and the Kove 450 Rally, do we think that that's going to inspire other manufacturers to move in that direction? Because I mean, I feel like we've been asking for this for years, and it's kind of been crickets. And now all of a sudden we have these outside companies coming in and offering something new in North America, and are they going to follow suit, or are they just going to sit there with their hands crossed and do nothing? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean it's such a good point. I would say both these bikes right off the bat, the Kove and the Ibex, or the Kove 450 and the Ibex, they're not really comparable. We're here comparing them, but they're different bikes, and both sit totally alone in their own little niche. There's no other options similar to the Ibex. There's no other options similar to the Kove 450. Like they're unique bikes, and it's crazy to me that there is no other rally bike like the Kove available on the market, despite Yamaha, Honda, Sherco, KTM, Gas, Husqvarna all having these bikes because they desert race with them. And I'm not saying that these companies should give us exact Dakar replicas of their bikes. They can dumb down the suspension and build them cheaper, but it's, there's a reason they haven't brought those to the market and made them available to the public yet. And I don't know if one rally bike on the market is going to change their minds. You would hope it would. I think that rally bikes check off a lot of boxes for people that want to do some long distance off-road focused adventure riding. And I think the same for the Ibex. There's nothing comparable. I know KTM has spoken out highly against these lighter weight adventure bikes. I think they even tried to get CF Moto to not make this bike and not sell this bike, but like, there's rumors of a Norden 501, and it was even like in the Husqvarna long-term plan, and KTM X'd it saying like, oh, the people don't want this bike. Nobody wants these bikes. I think even in their they had a bit of a stake in MV Agusta, who had the 5500 adventure bike coming out, and they crossed that off. And like, it's weird because it's what we're asking for, but KTM in particular seems to think that it's bad for the market. And I don't know. I'm seeing a ton of Ibexes out on the road, so people want them, and I'm seeing the odd Kove that's not ours here and there too. So
yeah,
hopefully the other manufacturers follow suit, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because like everyone is saying in the comments, like we've been all asking for this for years, and the big players don't really listen. They're sticking to their format, and my hope is that these two bikes will put them on notice and that they'll start listening to us. The reality is they probably won't. They're going to sit back and they're going to see how these two bikes do, the longevity of these two bikes. And, if these bikes are still hot sellers in 5-6 years, then maybe they might go, well, maybe we should develop something, and away we go. But I don't think we're going to see, tides change overnight type thing. But you're right, John, like these two bikes they sit alone. They dip their toes on either side of the spectrum, but they do sit alone, and there's nothing else really that fits the niche for either one of them where they sit, right? So
yeah, we did have
I know
Kip Moto saying the KTM 390 Adventure is a direct competitor, but it's a single cylinder. It's they're different bikes.
right. And BMW does have their 450 coming out apparently.
Yeah, that's true. Also a single.
I haven't. I think it is. Yeah, I haven't looked much too into it, but
yeah. There's just something about that twin that if you have to put on long highway miles, it feels like the twin will handle it better than a single.
Yeah, and the twin, it sounds so nice.
Yeah.
That bike's tuning. It's turning me into a goon out on the street, because I just want to hear it bark all the time. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, the conspiracy I've heard of manufacturers not wanting to release these lightweight adventure bikes is that it's a one bike solution and people won't buy multiple bikes.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, I could be totally content if the only bike I owned was the Kove, because I can take it down to Tansky. I can ride the easier enduro trails on it. I can go on long adventures. I can live off the bike for a month or more. Like, yeah, if I only owned one bike, hands down the Kove, there'd be no regrets. There's no reason for an enduro bike. There's no reason for a full-size adventure bike. That bike does it. And I think that's why the other OEMs just they know it's less bike sales.
That's a very good point, because right now, so far, all the riding that I've done on the Ibex is everything that I've done on Lucy. So all of the dual sport and the single track and stuff, and it's suiting me just fine. For my ability, my style, it's doing fine. So now, if this thing really checks all the boxes when I do my long trip, then you're absolutely right. It's a one bike solution. Like, you don't need anything else. So yeah, that's a pretty good point there, John. I like that.
Mm-hmm. You have any feelings about it, Colin?
When I was living in Nova Scotia and I was doing the whole trail trash thing, my buddy Jeff, who's also a paramedic, and shout out to Jeff if you're watching this, miss you, buddy. We would talk all the time about, like, what's that perfect adventure bike? Why is no manufacturer making this perfect adventure bike? And I think we settled on 500cc parallel twin, and the Ibex is here. It's finally here. It's finally a 500cc twin adventure bike. And I think Kawasaki may have teased something similar earlier this year. Kind of like I seem to recall it was hidden behind like a cardboard box, and like the only thing that was showing was like a 21-inch front wheel or something. So I feel like there's going to be a couple manufacturers that do get behind that 500cc twin in the adventure style relatively soon. Um, and I think more options is good for the market. I think more options is good for us as a consumer. And yeah, more bikes, more riding, more people having fun. It's all good
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The more people out there on two wheels, for sure. 100%.
Yeah. Would you recommend the Ibex as somebody's first bike, brand new rider?
Brand new rider. There's going to be a couple of factors that I would take into consideration with that. One would be height. Just thinking of the being able to jump off the bike fast enough. If you're a little taller, it's easier to do, just because the bike is heavier, right? So I'm of the camp of always starting small. I mean, that's how I started my dirt riding as well. I started with something easy and small and light. Um, if they're going to be doing some, if their intent is to just stick to the Forest Service roads and use it as a daily commuter, absolute first bike, 100%. Yeah, it's super approachable. It's forgiving. It's tractorable. It's nimble. It's nimble as all heck in the streets. It's super easy. The does have a slight downside compared to the 250, and that's the lockout on the turn on the handlebars isn't quite as much as the 250 is, and I do notice that from time to time. But yeah, I would definitely say that if they're looking at their first bike for dirt, no, 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 no. But if they're looking at their first bike for a mix of street and some fun exploring, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you for the Kove?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it would be hard just because it's so revvy, to be a beginner and not have the confidence to run in that high RPM range. I mean, they do offer a high seat and a low seat version of the Kove, and the name's deceiving because it's not the seat that's different, it's the actual suspension is different. So if you went the low seat, maybe to get rid of that height, because it's the tall seat's a tall bike, but yeah, it would be a really tough bike to learn on, and I think you'd be putting yourself into the long way of learning how to ride. So and if you want a bike
Yeah.
for the street, it's not the bike you want to learn on for the street. And if your goal is to ride off road and rally style, then I think you're just better on a 250.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it handles fine on the street, but yeah, it's definitely not a beginner bike. It's one of those bikes where sometimes I'll find myself being lazy and riding slow, and I'm like, oh, like I don't like the way it's feeling. I don't feel planted. I don't feel confident. But like you ride faster. That is how you feel more confident on that bike. Everything starts to line up and feel good when you increase speed. And as a beginner, that's not what you want to be doing.
No, 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 no. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Colin and I have talked about this a lot. Is like off road, the Kove doesn't feel good until you've hit 70 kilometers an hour.
Right.
At 90 kilometers an hour, that bike is at home. It's where it should be. Like 50 kilometers an hour, you're like the suspension is harsh. You are rattling the teeth out of your head. It's not fun. Like and you just don't feel like you can control the bike the same way. I think that's part of like the geometry maybe not sitting exactly how it should, the suspension not working how it should. Like it wants those bigger, faster hits.
Sure.
And like one of the things when we did get into some more technical stuff, I was saying to Colin is every moment I got offline and was like, oh crap, I'm gonna hit this. I just gave it gas. and the bike just went over it. It floated over it like it was nothing. And then we're coming up that hill climb, and what happened in your mind there, Colin?
Well, like I don't know. I was used to riding John's old Honda CRF 250L, a rally.
My wife's old one.
Yes, right. Yeah, also another one of John's wife's bikes. Um, this while I was waiting for the Kove, and like we'd do these rocky climbs, and there'd be a big, boulder or rock face that I was going to try and launch off of, and I'm like, I'm going to hit this, and I'm just going to tank, and I'm going to go over the bars. And we were going up, I think, a similar type of deal the other day, and I ended up offline, and I was heading into these like loose, chunky boulders, and it was straight up, and I was like, this is going to suck. And so I just had this moment where I was like, wait a minute. No, it's not, because I'm just gonna give it gas and it's gonna be fine. And I did, and it was fine. Like you take these huge hits where on any other dual sport or adventure bike, like you'd be having a bad day. And you just like swoop, and it's over. It's a nothing burger. It's wild.
Right.
Yeah. As soon as you think you're in trouble, you give that bike gas and you're out of trouble. Which is not what you want in a beginner bike, which is where this whole conversation.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to have the confidence when you get yourself in trouble on the Kove to go, okay, twist more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you taken some pretty good hits on the Ibex yet, or get close to bottoming out the suspension?
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah. A couple of times. Carl and I were getting after it on one of the rides, and like we were doing, God, Carl, jump in there at 90,
I don't
100,
believe that
110.
you and Carl were getting after it. That doesn't sound right. That story doesn't check out.
Yeah, no, we were getting after it pretty good, and I was still on the stock tires on that stupid thing. So, but yeah, there was a couple of bumps where I hit pretty good, and yeah, I hit her hard. So
and it just eats it up, or it.
A couple of them I felt, but most of them, yeah, Carl's in there 90 to 110 is what we were averaging off road, and I was on the stupid stock tires. Yeah, it was a Carl ride, but yeah, it goes well. It's for a bike that feels so streety, if you will. I'm constantly amazed at how well it does do off road at various speeds. It goes. It wants to go. It's eager to please. It's like a little puppy dog. Yeah. And I'm noticing, because coming from the 250L with what have I got, 25 horsepower, 20 something, 24 horsepower, and now I'm at 44. I noticed the Ibex, it does like to fly. It likes to jump. So I'm learning how to get air, massive air, at least an inch, maybe two, but I'm getting massive air now. So yeah. But no, what's really great.
Film, though? It only counts if you get it on film.
The camera, I know the camera's always facing forward. I gotta do some flyby shots. But what is great is being able to loft that tire. So I'm noticing stepping up to a bike with a little bit more horsepower is challenging my abilities, and my abilities are getting better now, right? So I'm learning better techniques and whatnot. So it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking up the horsepower difference. It looks like the Kove is 51 horsepower at 9,500 RPM and 29 pounds of torque at 7,000. Your Ibex, you're 44 horsepower at 85, so a little bit less horsepower, but up in torque at 32.5 foot-pounds at 6.25 RPM.
Right.
So that would help that front wheel flip up.
Yeah, and you could notice that torque, and I think again coming into the raised swing arm, all of that is getting thrown right at the dirt. It's like right down on the ground, right? So very, very easy to wheelie this thing if I wanted to. Nice. So it really
nice.
I'm finding the Kove in a slower clutch pop wheelie hard to do because that low end not there.
Okay.
But you can power wheelie it above 7,000 RPM.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you're. Yeah. Have you been playing around a bit with it, Colin, or?
You still. I wheelied it on the way home from the dealer at like the 30-kilometer mark, and just like in, I don't know, I was in like third gear or something, and it just like started to lift up, and I was like, okay, no, this is good enough for me.
Yeah, yeah, one of those higher RPM power wheelies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the T7, I can come in first gear, 5 kilometers an hour, pop the clutch, lift the wheel, and the Kove, I cannot get it to lift on those slow speed pop clutches. But I think that all comes down to that, how the engine just doesn't lug at low end. There's no torque, there's no power down below 6,000 RPM.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how that changes with the airbox mod, the off-road airbox mod, and depending on how far we go with it, you know, maybe a new ECU and a different pipe, see if it really opens it up.
Yeah,
so time will tell. We're gonna leave one bike stock and probably mod the heck out of John's, and that way, if anything breaks, I'll
Tracy's.
know. Oh, Tracy's,
There
yeah,
you
that's
go.
right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I bought this for my wife.
Right. Yeah.
And I know from internet forums, a lot of guys are saying advanced timing makes the biggest difference to the Kove to get a more linear power. I think they're saying the ignition timing from the factory is like a -12, and guys are putting on a +2 timing chip, and it's a world of difference in terms of linear power.
Gotcha.
That being said, apparently all top end power, the reviness, that is how a rally bike is designed. Like any of the guys racing rally, that's how they're tuning their engines. They want all the top end because they're not doing slow techie stuff. They don't care about any power down there. They want all their power at the red line because that's where they are.
That's right. Yeah. It's like Kove should have adopted KTM's slogan "Ready to Race," right? Because the Koves are ready to race. They're ready to go, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You'd probably finish the race on the Kove, which I don't know if you would on the KTM. Yeah. If you even get the KTM to the start line, because my KTM, I couldn't even get out of the freaking garage.
Yeah. So what about this one here? We'll wrap it up shortly here, but what would stop you from riding around the world with these 450s? So you guys are looking to do like turn these things into full-on adventure bikes. So would you be concerned taking this thing around the world? What would stop you from taking it around the world?
I'm ready
for anything.
War.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, I don't think I would be concerned. I mean, the end dream for my wife and I when we retire is to ride to the southern tip of Argentina, and right now 2 Koves are what we would buy and take, and part of the reason for buying the one we got is to get her on it and get her ready for that trip.
Right.
And so yeah, I would take it. Is parts gonna be hard to get in some countries? Probably, but almost all bike parts are hard to get in certain countries. And you know, the reality is if you're doing a world trip, you better be prepared to work on your bike as much as possible because you're just gonna have to. And Kove does seem easy enough to work on because it's got none of the fancy tech. It's just a straightforward bike. Except for the oil change, but all the panels are quick release quarter turns, so you can have all the panels off that bike in a couple minutes. Even the seat, it's just like pull the lock, seats off, panels off. Like I would take it around the world, and the 5,000 K oil change interval is gonna suck on big trips, but it's just something you're gonna deal with. And if you're not rallying it, I don't see why you couldn't run that closer to 7,000 or 8,000 kilometers between oil changes.
Yeah. I mean, it's got enough oil filters on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Chris? Would you take your Ibex around the world?
Yeah, much. I'm going to echo a lot what you said. You know, like I would pretty much ride anything around the world. You're going on that trip. You're going to be prepared. You're going to know your machine. You're going to know how to work on it. Parts are hard to find for any bike in certain places. Right now, we get back into the reliability issue, and right now the bike has given me no cause for concern with regards to reliability at all. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I would ride anything around the world.
Do you know what the oil change interval is on the CF Moto?
No, I don't. My app tells me.
Yeah, when your app tells you.
Maybe you can over the wear firmware
in the
update
middle
where
of the
oil
desert
will last longer.
No.
Yeah. 5,000 K as well. So
is it 5,000 K?
Yeah.
I will likely treat it exactly how I treat Lucy, and it's a fresh oil change at the beginning of every riding season, and then a fresh oil change when she sits. So that's what I do every year. Yeah.
John's still traumatized after owning a Norden, so I think he wants to change his oil every 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the service manual for that bike was 15,000 kilometers, but I couldn't even get an engine to last that long.
Unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't replace oil. I replaced engines.
Yeah. No oil change is necessary. Nope. Just new motors.
Yeah, exactly. We should do the T-Cat together, Angel Face is saying. I'm down.
That is, the T-Cat's my dream. I would love to do the T-Cat.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's the Transamerica Trail too to take back. So we got.
Yeah, that's my plan. T-Cat all the way out to Newfoundland and then come back on the Transamerica.
On the Ibex and on the Koves. Let's go.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go. We can just do it live. We can keep this stream going.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go grab our gear.
Yeah.
Let me stop on a plane. I'll be there in like 10 hours.
Yeah. Well, we need to pack, so.
Yeah.
I guess it's been pretty easy to get parts, like aftermarket parts for the Kove or for the CF Moto already, eh?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Going on watching the forums and stuff and everything. Aftermarket parts are, crazy. The CF Moto branded parts, the OEM parts, are the ones that people are having a hard time getting a hold of right now, and the ones that are delays. So the good old AliExpress is getting them, and I got my handguards from AliExpress, and they were like $28. I had them in 2 weeks, and they're every bit as tough as my bark busters that are on the on Lucy. It's like, oh, okay, well, great, perfect.
Yeah, it feels like the aftermarket parts for the Kove are still kind of lagging, but starting to come.
Well, part of that is probably because you don't really need them, because the Kove is so dialed in, right?
It's a good point.
So,
it's a good point. I just like buying parts, and I'm disappointed how few parts I can buy.
The truth comes out.
With the Ibex being a little bit more of a street princess, a lot of guys are putting on the Farkles, and that's why there's so many parts and pieces for it, right? So
yeah, true. I feel like a lot with the Koves, guys are just buying them and riding them.
That's right. Yeah. Luggage for these models. Do you know the weight limits?
I do.
Oh yeah.
The owner's manual for the Kove 450 says that the rear tail weight limit is 5 pounds.
Oh,
which of course I am not going to conform to, and I don't think anyone will. So I haven't heard of anyone's bike snapping in half yet.
Yeah.
So it's a good point. It's built like the KTM 690, where there's no subframe. It's fuel tank. That being said, there is tons of guys online that have like the Moscow Reckless 80 on their Koves with an aftermarket rack. So we're going to be putting on the Outback Motortech rack. and it seems to be fine. I think the racks have a low point of contact that come down to the frame and help support that. So I think, yeah, if you're not putting a rack on, you're going to be limited by weight.
That's right.
But once you get that rack on, that extra support point, then yeah, like we have reckless 80s coming that will load up with camera gear and coffee grinders and some nice craft coffee beans and coffee pot and
right
stuff you need for an adventure.
That's right. Yeah.
And we'll load them up and we'll hopefully not break the rear end off the bike, because that's our fuel.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be doing that at all. No. Yeah. And with the Ibex, it's a complete subframe, goes all the way back, and the subframe is replaceable. So if it did break, it's a 2-piece. You can put it back on, but it's not going to. I can't see it breaking. And I'm outfitted with Outback as well, and the way that's designed, that's a whole roll cage in itself back there. So I could probably put an elephant back there. I'm not concerned about that at all. So yeah.
Critter, you've been really good at like the subtle jabs to my heart all night, like talking about how you're tall and like, oh, the ground came up so easy, and like, oh, if I bend the subframe of my Ibex, I can just unbolt like 6 bolts and put a new frame on. No big deal if you bend it, but you won't bend it. Yeah. Last time I do one of these with
jab.
Sorry, John. I did for buying your bike from some sketchy Russian dude.
Yeah, it's a good deal. It's a good deal.
Okay, Stoyles, I don't know if you're still here, but yes, I will see you in a week and a couple of days. Everyone else, I have to wrap it up because I got to get my littlest one to bed. But John, Colin, thanks for coming on. Thanks for yakking. We should do this again. This was kind of fun, and I will get better graphics and things going with this new program and stuff, and we can do stuff. Give yourselves a shout out again for everyone that's listening, just so that if they missed it at the beginning, where they can find you.
Go there, Colin.
Oh, everything's backwards on this screen. So I'm Colin. I'm one half of Ragged Roads Moto. You can find us on YouTube and on Instagram. Give us a follow, give us a like, and hopefully we'll be meeting up with Critter in real life here soon to do a real ride comparison.
A real ride comparison, yes. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Critter Moto, and that is John, and that is Colin, and there's my daughter at the door. That is my cue. So have a good night, everybody, and until next time, get out there and ride.
See you on the trails.
Bye. Okay, how do we do this now? How do I stop it?
Call the IT department.
I don't know. Okay.
Throw it out the window.
Okay. Wait. End stream right there. Okay, bye. There. End it.